Well, hello, my little darklings, and welcome to the Dark Zone. I'm Dave Schrader. Today I'm going to answer a question that I get quite often. Do I believe in a more scientific approach to the paranormal? I know a lot of people believe that as a paranormal researcher and investigator, we automatically jump to the conclusion that it's haunted. And there are a lot of teams out there that claim that they're scientific in principle, when in fact they're not. They're just walking around doing what they see on TV. We're all a little guilty of that because let's face it looks fun, it looks scary, it's kind of thrilling. So a lot of us go through the motions that we see on popular TV programs. Well, here are a few of the actual scientific principles behind things that can seem like a haunting but aren't necessarily. First of all, let's look at the because I told you so scenario. A lot of people will end up believing or having a paranormal experience because I told you so. Because I told you this location is haunted. And I've told you what the stories are in this location. So suddenly, as you're walking around and you feel out of place or out of sorts, you might begin to believe that it's haunted. It may just be because your mind is already at work and it's trying to make sense of situations. If you're in a library, you automatically know to hush your voice, right? Because that's what you do in that setting. If you're at a sports arena, you're going to talk loud, you're going to cheer, you're going to have a great time. Well, the same can be said when you're in a haunted location. When you go into a haunted location with preconceived notions and your mind already set up to the fact that you're going to have an experience, quite often that's exactly what you're going to have. Now, is it a real experience or is it more an imaginative experience? That's still out of the ballpark for me to know. But I can tell you in a lot of cases, it's simply the power of suggestion. Somebody telling you that a location is haunted is enough to make you believe that you've had a paranormal experience. There's also high levels of electromagnetic force or a high level of electromagnetic field. What that means, everything around us puts off some type of energetic signature field. A lot of it is very well shielded now, but it didn't used to be so much. And skeptics hate when they see us investigators walking around with different tools and they'll see us waving the tools around. They're like, look at these idiots waving their tools around trying to communicate with the dead. Well, fact of the matter is, we weren't trying to communicate with the dead when we employed these different tools. As a matter of fact, we were going in as a skeptic to try to disprove the claims of the paranormal by getting readings in a natural environment to see if there's something in the environment that would lead us to believe we're having a paranormal experience. There are two very famous paranormal investigators that tell a story of an investigation they did where a woman at night, as she's laying in bed, would have these very powerful feelings of somebody watching her. She would feel as though somebody was standing over her or near her. She couldn't see them, but she could just feel this force. She would sometimes have this high buzzing sound in her head, and it was really unnerving. Well, as these two researchers were investigating, they found she had one of those old 1970s alarm clocks right next to her side of the bed, right on the headboard above her head. And when they took measurements, it was off the charts. So they unplugged the clock, moved it across the room. She didn't report any more problems after that. There was so much energy coming off of that that it was disturbing her own energetic field and creating hallucinations and creating kind of a temporal sense of being watched or having something oppressing her. But once they moved that, they were actually able to prove that it had nothing more to do with the supernatural. It was really just a natural phenomena occurring. So when we're using our tools, the original intent for these tools was not to prove a haunting, it was meant to disprove a haunting. As a sideline, as we find with many things in life, we also found that because they're sensitive to finding natural electromagnetic frequencies and fields, they may be able to be disturbed by the spirit world. Theoretically, if spirits are an electromagnetic force or field, they might be able to manipulate that energy to communicate with us. Do I believe that that is the case all the time? Oh, heck no. But it's definitely an intriguing possibility. But again, those tools were used to try to disprove the haunting. So you have to be very wary of the tools you use. And I know it's real exciting to see these tools on TV and want to go get them for yourself and then go out on a paranormal investigation. But you have to really fully understand what the tools are, what they're created for, and why we use those tools before you start to employ them in a paranormal investigation, because many of these tools have inherent flaws that can be very easily triggered. The K2 meter, which is a very popular tool you've seen on TV shows for about a decade now, can be manipulated with RF frequency. That is like your car remote starter. Some of them, if you're sitting there pushing the button, will light up the K2 meter. Even if you have your phone on vibrate or completely ringer off, it's still getting pinged. So once in a while, as it's getting those messages and things that are coming through, it'll set off the K2 meter. So again, you have to be very cautious and understand not only how your tools work, but understand how they work in conjunction with everything that you've brought with you and what's going on in the house. So it's always good to get baseline readings using these tools in all these situations. Toxic hallucinations. Oh, yeah, man. No, not that kind. Toxic hallucinations could be mold spores that are in old haunted locations. They are proven to trigger hallucinatory effect. As a matter of fact, some researchers and scientists found that in old books, people would buy these old books and read them, and they'd begin having hallucinatory issues. And they started to realize it was because of the spores that were in this book. And as they were opened up for maybe the first time in 50 years or 100 years, these spores were being released, inhaled, and causing hallucinogenic feelings of being watched. Or sometimes it will even affect your visual field, and you will think you see things moving around. With that said, another big flaw is people seeing things out of the corner of their eye. It's such an easy thing to say that was paranormal, but you really do have to understand the science of the eye as well. Most of the cones and rods we have are focused in the front of the eye to make our vision as clear and concise as it can be. There are very few on the sides. So you have to ask yourself if you truly saw something in the peripheral view. Because it could have been, and most people witness shadowy figures moving around in low light settings. Maybe the TV's on, you're in the living room, the lights are off, you're watching TV, and you see something flicker out of the corner of your eye. Very well just could be the light play from your TV interacting with the mirrored light that you have up on the ceiling or picture frames and causing temporary distortions of your visual perceptions. So you always have to question that as well. Understand what you're seeing. The eyes are a very fickle tool, man. They want to see, and they're always trying to adjust for light settings and everything that's going on around them. Did you also know that if you have a fan too close to you, the air, the wind from it can affect the moisture on your eye, causing visual disturbances and hallucinations? See, there's so much to learn. That's what makes it so fascinating. You can learn and you can start to realize that not everything is paranormal. So you have to question everything. And speaking about hallucinations, here's two big factors to keep in mind. Most paranormal investigators I know, they love to drink their energy drinks. They also love to smoke. Well, did you know that smoking and high levels of caffeine cause hallucinations? The things we think are keeping us awake and helping us be a better investigator might actually be shifting our perceptions and making us more apt to hallucinate or see and hear things that aren't actually there. Now, I know the question remains, could it be that that stimulant is what's opening us up to that side? There's always that possibility, but we have no way to scientifically prove that at this point. But we can scientifically prove that high levels of caffeine and tobacco can cause hallucinatory effects. So those are some things you want to keep in mind when you're out researching the paranormal. With that said, I have had plenty of experiences on my own where I have not been drinking high levels of caffeine. I'm not a tobacco user. I'm not a drug user. So I know that you can have these experiences, and I know that you might have these experiences, but just start to be aware of your situation, your location, the equipment that you use, and what you're doing with your body, what you put into it, and how you're being affected by your day's activities. If you go into an investigation on a highly stressful day, you may have all kinds of weird things happen only because your energy is so chaotic. It may not be feeding the paranormal, but you may be causing your own situations to occur because your energy is so out of whack, almost like a poltergeist agent, but on a much smaller level. Well, that's it for today. If you have more questions, you can always email me, dave@darknessradio.com, and I'll try to address those from time to time right here on your brand new source for everything paranormal. Again, thank you for checking this out. And remember to listen to the best in paranormal talk radio 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till midnight on darknessradio.com. And then you can find more exclusive content regarding all aspects of the paranormal right here on the darkzone.tv.